Hello, everyone. Welcome to my class on Dinacharya. I am teaching this class for my two different memberships, my regulated, resilient, and rested members, and my magical, mystical money, because it is a class for everyone. Dinacharya is the mother of Ayurveda. It is your daily routine. It gives you a route into your life. It helps you to create what you want your life to be about. And it is imperative for people with a lot of vata. Vata people they're very windy and they like to move and erratic and changeable and variable. And this gives them some structure. So it's like a warm hug to a vated out person, but it can be very, very hard to implement if you do have a lot of vata. And most of you, if you're in this class, probably do have a lot of vata, because vata is fear and worry and anxiety. It always is. I'm going to do the next class for MMM will be about the doshas and money. So I will be giving you a lot of information in next week's class. If you're in my regulated class, then you probably have a pretty good sense of what vata is. Okay. So Dinacharya, traditionally in yogic philosophy, it's pretty intense. And if you look at the PDF of all the ways that you could, I'm not going to say should, could start and end your day, it can feel like, oh my God, overwhelming. How am I going to do this? I'm going to have to quit my job, right? But I don't want it to be overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. We can bring in pieces. And at the end of our time today, we're actually going to bring in a meditation to help you get clear on how you want to start. Okay, but first let's arrive. We are going to arrive today with a little bit of a mudra and a mantra. So a mudra is a hand gesture that helps your body to feel a specific way. The mudra that I'm choosing for today is called Ushas mudra, and it is for opening to new possibilities. So it's very simple. Take your finger, just lace them together very gently, and then let them fall into your lap. Before I introduce the mantra, I want you just to arrive in this moment. Notice how your breath is flowing in and out without changing it at all. Noticing the impact this mudra has on your body. Maybe you feel a little more rooted. Maybe you feel like you can breathe a little more deeply. Maybe a little calmer. Maybe you feel a little boost of energy. Just noticing. So the mantra that we'll do today, and I will also talk more about why we're doing mantra a little bit later in our class, but I'm going to offer to you the first mantra that I ever learned. It was given to me by my teacher at my very first yoga teacher training. And it is Om Namah Shivaya, which means I bow to Shiva, or I bow to my inner self. This mantra has gotten me through very difficult times, including childbirth. I would find it just going on repeat in my brain. But it means I bow to my inner self at the most simplistic level. If you Google this, you will find deep, deep philosophy around it. But repeat after me. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And now we're going to chant that, not for the full 108 times, The yogis recommend always chanting for 108, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to kind of get a taste for it. And you can chant out loud if you want. I will be chanting out loud just because I'm going to be guiding you. Or you can chant internally. The yogis say that if you chant internally, that the chant is exponentially more powerful. Okay, so it will be Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. I'm going to pick up speed in a moment. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. For a moment, just settle into the breath. Settling into the impact of the mudra and the mantra. Now, if you were with me during that and you were like, I don't like this, I don't want to say it. When you decide to pick a mantra, you can choose, there's many, many different ones. We can definitely talk about those. I love, love, love mantra. And, or you could just choose a word, or you could choose a prayer, freedom, love, or a prayer from your childhood, whatever works. Okay, let's slowly come back. And we're going to start to talk about Dinacharya, the mother of Ayurveda. So the word Dina means daily, and Acharya means to move or an activity or a flow or a way of being in the world. So when we hear the word Dinacharya, it's often translated as your daily routine. Another way of talking about it is that it is a daily commitment that expresses how you want to move in the world, how you want to be in the world, hold space in this world. This includes your family, business, and money. If we want to take it even deeper, it's a somatic body-based expression of what I want my life to be about. So I feel like when we're talking about how we are making money as entrepreneurs and how we go about doing that, bringing a practice of Dinacharya can be incredibly supportive because it's so easy to forget ourselves in the process. And there's more to it than that, but we'll talk about that later. So Dinacharya is that proclamation. What do I want my life to be about? Because there's this crazy thing that happens every day. If you're lucky, every day you wake up, and every day Mother Nature says that's enough, knocks you out, and you go to sleep. There might be some dreaming in this sleep, and sometimes you can remember your dreams, sometimes you can't, but there's this process every day where you wake up and you go to sleep. So every day you've got this new day to live and to proclaim how you want your life to be. And then every night you go to bed and synthesize and integrate everything that happened in your day and digest everything that happened in your day, everything you ate. It happens every single day. So Dinacharya is working with what Dinacharya is for you, essentially, learning what your limitations are and how you can support your own energy. As an entrepreneur, it's important to support your own energy. If you don't do that, you run out of steam, you lose inspiration and creativity. So supporting your energy is imperative in creating your life. So as you know, when you're really fired up about doing something, you can burn yourself out. That's that pitta energy. It can burn, you can overwork and burn yourself out. And then there's the vata energy, which you come up with these amazing ideas, but because your vata is scattered all over the place and doesn't have any sort of container like Dinacharya offers it, you are just like inspired and creative, and then your energy just goes all over the place, and then you lose it and you want to take a nap, or you're on to the next thing. The idea fizzles. So, like I said, Mother Nature does this thing to us every day where we fall asleep and then we wake up. And according to yogic philosophy, there's this period between being awake and falling asleep. It's this liminal realm that is called sutika. And it is the portal between life and death. It's the transition time between waking. It is this transition time between waking and sleeping that is so tender, because the tenderness, the reality of who we really are comes online. You are incredibly impressionable at bedtime when you're falling asleep and when you first wake up in the morning. So Tika includes the whole process of getting ready for bed and then how you wake up in the morning. It's incredibly tender and special. We don't ever talk about it in this culture. We really pretty much neglect this idea of Sutik as just like, go to bed, watch TV until you go to bed, scroll, then hopefully you fall asleep. Wake up. It's just we kind of neglect this tenderness. And Dinacharya holds this tenderness for a few reasons. There's a real delicacy to that period. And it's a time to be quiet. This is morning and night. And it's tender on this very subtle level. So you don't want to be doing crazy things like watching murder shows, listening to murder podcasts, doing wacky stuff like that. And it's like time in the morning where you don't want anyone to talk to you. It's like, just give me a minute. It's that morning time where you start to wake up and you're like, you feel this tenderness and you're not really ready to wake up, and it's sort of subtle, and then you're like, ugh, I have things to do. And then also, don't talk to me. And I don't want to move too fast. Your body never really wants to move fast in the morning. So on this bigger level, our daily routine and the way we live our day and the way we determine how we live our weeks, our months, and our years, and our lifetime, it becomes who we are. So if you're rushing just one day, and then the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, then suddenly you're like, oh my God, I rushed all month. And then it's like, oh, then the months slip by and you're like, oh my God, I've rushed. And then suddenly you're 90 and you're like, I just rushed my whole life. That's all it was. So how you live your life becomes, every day becomes how you live your life in a bigger picture. Tantric philosophy says, act and live as if you would live forever, but be prepared to die at any moment. So what Tantra is really asking us, and what the Ayurveda routine is saying on a deeper level, is be prepared to die and to live as well as possible. Waking up every day with consciousness so you can live and die with consciousness. It's deep stuff. It's much deeper than just, oh, this is what I do. I get up and I scrape my tongue every morning, right? This is like a proclamation how we want to live and how we want to die. So your daily routine is really personal. Of course, the old school yogis have this very formal way of doing it. But the way I was taught Dinacharya, the way I was taught Ayurveda, is that I trust everyone to figure out what Dinacharya is for them. It might look very different than what it is for me or anyone else in this group. So it doesn't have to be the same. There doesn't have to be a prescription or rigidity to it. Like I said, the structure and the formality in the old school traditional yogis, it's pretty rigid, and you can lean into this tradition and say, thank you for this. And at the same time, as spiritually sovereign people, we can make a decision for what it needs to look like for us. Because each one of us has a different expression of what we want our life to be about. And we're all unique in that way. So not everybody's life expression is going to be that all day long and hours of pranayama, yoga, and meditation. That just might not be what it is for you. And it's really not sustainable for us in our culture. And you can bet your ass, this is my theory, that the men who decided, these guys that went up to them and meditated in the mountain, and they came down and they said, this is what Ayurveda is. But you can bet your ass there was a woman or some devotees cooking for them, cleaning for them. They didn't have to do anything but meditate and move their bodies and chant and sit in a meditative state all day. Like, that's just not us. That's not who we are in this culture. So it's a beautiful thing, but it's not sustainable. So we all get to decide how we want to proclaim our lives. If you're fiery, it's going to look a little different from someone who's airy. Some of you out there are moms, and it's absolutely going to be different for you. And this proclamation can and should shift over your lifetime. Because the proclamation you make when you are 20 is going to be very different than when you are 60. So it's not static. It's never static. It's always changing as you're evolving, and as your circumstances change. My daily routine was very, very different when I first learned about this concept when my kids were little. Like, I got to just survive the days, right? And if I get to do a yoga nidra or meditate when they're taking a nap, then that's what it could be like. Or if we're on a walk and I'm just aware. So moms, if you're out there and you're a mom, don't get overwhelmed by all these things you have to do. You're living it. You're in the thick of living a spiritual life. But there are little ways you can, kind of simple ways where you can stick a Dinacharya thing in there. So when we do our practice later to kind of help you come up with it, be really easy on yourself. No need to meditate for an hour, do asana for an hour. You don't have to do all that jazz. But there's little ways you can do it. You can offer it up and you can make it all spiritual. But we'll figure that out in a little bit. Okay, so Dinacharya is, there's this tenderness, the sutika, the tenderness of living and living like you'd like to die. But then there's also a physicality to it. So just like your car that you have to take to get serviced, your body needs to be serviced too. Only your body, according to Ayurveda, needs to be serviced every single day. And if you don't put oil in your car, it'll stop running. It's just that simple. In Ayurveda, we oil everything. We put oil in every single orifice. I'm not lying, to keep things going. So every day, oiling. Our bodies function on oil, on juice, on sap. So the daily routine is all about keeping this juicy machine juicy. I think I'll have a drink. But on that spiritual level, it's not only about keeping your body oily and juicy and young so you can have this nice, healthy life and healthy body. It's about you evolving. This is all about evolution. And every single one of you are here because you wanted something to be different. And you're hoping that change and evolution would be good. And I say this with confidence because otherwise you would not be here. You thought there was some potentiality for change. And you thought that change would bring you more happiness, more calm, more ease, more freedom, whatever it is for you, which is what all humans want. Everyone wants to be happier. Even those people out there doing the crazy stuff, they just want to be happier. So you're here because you want things to be different. And Ayurveda says that Dinacharya is one of the things that enable you to learn new things and change. So let's talk a little bit about the brain again. Changing and evolving means doing a little bit of this brain work so you can understand this. There's a small part of your brain called the nucleus basalis. And it's responsible for a lot of things. But what we're going to talk about today is what it does from the ages of 0 to 7. It takes in information. All it's doing all the time is taking in new information. It's on overdrive from age 0 to 7. You're learning new things. There's a lot of prana moving through your body and energy going through your body and your brain. Your neurons are firing like crazy, and you're making a lot of synaptic connections. You are literally learning about your reality, about reality in general, and your neurons are getting a lot of activation, but nothing is really hardwiring quite yet. Your nucleus bacillus is still, it's still on, it's still working. So it's like wet. This part is like your brain is kind of like wet cement when your nucleus bacillus is on. So there's this cement and there's this like churning process, and you're taking all this stuff in, all these experiences from 0 to 7, and everything, anytime something happens, it like creates a little root in your cement. If something really intense happens, maybe it's going to have a little bit of a deeper rut or root, or if something is repeated over and over and over again, it's going to create a rut, which we call samskaras in yoga, but we'll talk more about that in another class. But it's going to keep deepening this rut. And so as a small child, you're just taking it all in. Like we watch kids, they're like, why? Why is the sky blue? Why are the leaves turning yellow? Why do spiders have 8 legs? Why does this feel, it's just like, you're like, oh my God, right? Like they're just like everything that why? They're just taking it in. They're watching us as adults. They're determining if they're safe or not, if they're worthy, if you're lovable, if you're valuable. You are determining if your voice matters and if you have any agency to make things happen, to shift things in the world. So you're hyper aware, you're hyper interpretive, you're watching everything, you're interpreting everything. It's all going into your body, it's all going into your brain, and you're learning a lot of stuff really well and very quickly. So the not so great news about like, this is great. It's so good that we can do this, but we are interpreting reality based on our parents and caregivers and teachers and peers. So you're literally seeing and integrating their view of reality and the world into you. And then what happens? Things start to slow down. So from 12 to 15, you go through the thing called puberty, and the nucleus bacillus also slows down significantly. The neural pathways are not being formed as effortlessly as they were before, and not nearly as quickly. And this is when the cement begins to harden and the nucleus bacillus starts to shut. Basilisk, back in Harry Potter, basilisk starts to shut off because all the energy is going down towards the sexual organs now. So all that prana around curiosity diverts to your second chakra, and the cement pathways begin to dry. This is what they call hardwired. So how you perceive the world largely got laid down between the ages of 0 to 14. How you perceive reality was laid down between 0 and 14. This is overwhelming and maybe not the best thing, because how you see yourself and your self-image was conditioned through society, your parents, and your peers from ages 0 to 14, right? So no wonder we have some stuff. We don't want a 14-year-old boy telling us who we are. I was harassed by 14-year-old boys. My God, I was harassed by 14-year-old boys. I don't remember back in the, maybe you don't, back in the days where you could prank call someone, they call me, and just make my life hell and say terrible things. And boys could just, were some mean boys in my class. But do I want to think about myself like I did when I was 14, hearing all this shit from these mean boys? Does it need to be the same now when I'm 50? No, absolutely not. I do not want that. No 14-year-old boy should be telling me how I think about myself, right? So do you trust those 13-year-olds, 14-year-old boys that give you validation? Do you want the worldview of your parents? Some of it might be great, but sometimes maybe not so much. So all the stuff is cemented in your brain at this time. Luckily, neuroscience has come a long way, and we know that how plastic the brain is. But when someone's having a really hard time and you're like, just think positively, it's hard to do that because when you say that, you're not really understanding the nature of the brain and the nature of the cement, the crap that's cemented in your brain that runs through your whole body. Positive thinking doesn't necessarily unearth cemented patterns and programs. And this is actually one reason why I use brain spotting or tapping, and then something also called holographic memory resolution. It helps to shift these hardwired stored memories, beliefs, and patterns. And then there's also ways that we can turn the nucleus bacillus back on. And when we do that, we kind of start to dampen the cement. It gets more pliable. And so we can put in new ways of being and uproot the old crap that we don't want there anymore. The ways we don't want to perceive ourselves, perceive the world, perceive money, perceive other people. So how do we turn it back on? Number one, exercise. Exercise turns it back on. Moving your body in any way, any kind of exercise. But the thing with exercise is it doesn't last long. So it's a part of your bigger plan to turn it on, but it's not the end all be all. It's a good thing. We all know exercise does a lot of good things for us, but it's not the one thing that's going to keep the nucleus bacillus on. The second one is focus. So when I recommend that you do a yoga nidra or place your focus on your feet or your breath or a mantra or a mudra or different parts of your body, and then you start to learn to hang out there and not get distraction, you're training yourself to improve the power of focus, and that turns on your nucleus bacillus. Brain spotting is a form of focused mindfulness. That's straight out of David Grand's mouth. He's the founder of brain spotting. It is focused mindfulness. So you're looking at the spot. I mean, you're feeling into your body, or you're looking at the spot, or you're doing both, but you're focusing. So then there's also things like yoga and meditation. Meditation in itself is asking you to get focused, focusing on a mudra, a mantra, a breath, the darkness behind your eyes, the light above your head, what you feel in the room, what you hear, what you see, what you smell, all those things. So yoga, though, is brilliant because it's bringing the movement, the exercise, together with a focus. Movement and focus. If you're in a good yoga class, they're going to say, what are you noticing in your body right now? How do you feel when you're in, what's happening in triangle pose? Where do you notice that you're like stretching? Where do you feel strong? What's happening to your breath when you're in this posture? All of this is turning on the nucleus bacillus. So also with focus, any sort of prayer can work. There are many spiritual disciplines that have some sort of focus practice. Think of the rosary. That's the thing I know I grew up Catholic, so the rosary was the thing. Like you've got the beads in your hand, feeling those beads, and you're reciting the Hail Mary over and over and over and over. That is focus. Also, what are you paying attention to? So what are you actually focused on in your brain every day? Because what you pay attention to grows. So if you're only paying attention to pain and dysfunction or lack of money, then that is what's going to grow. Pain, discomfort, money's going to be a struggle, anxiety, fear, those are the things that are going to grow. So what are you paying attention to? Okay, number 3, the third thing to make a note here. The third thing to turn on your nucleus bacillus is love. So going ahead and falling in love with anything. It can be some dude off Tinder, your husband, your kids, your dog, whatever. Fall in love with someone, something, anything. And in yoga, another way for saying love is devotion. What are you devoted every day? What are you devoted to every day? When you bring in the practice of Dinacharya into your life, you are proclaiming what you are devoted to. And if you aren't practicing Dinacharya, some sort of it, what are you proclaiming that you are devoted to? Is it Netflix? which could also be just numbing out or feeling disconnected to your body, checking out from this life? Are you devoted to rushing, overworking, money, martyrdom? What are you devoted to? So Dinacharya brings awareness to what we are actually devoted to, what we actually show and do in our every single day lives, and we can shift that if needed. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing sort of game here, right? It's just like, we're going to add a little tiny bit of Dinacharya to your life. That's it, just a little tiny bit. So it's holding all of it. So sure, you can still watch Netflix, still have a glass of wine. You can get up and also, take a breath into your feet, scrape your tongue, have some hot water. It does not have to be all or nothing. That just brings more stress. Rigidity, can't do that, not into that. So it is being devoted to something other than yourself, to something so much bigger than you. Devotion is not martyrdom and self-neglect, though. It is not. So surrendering your ego to something bigger than you are. So that love or devotion in yoga, we also called bhakti. And that is the yoga of love and devotion. It's one of my all-time favorite practices ever. Chanting is bhakti. It does not matter if you love Buddha or Jesus or garden nymphs or whatever, and if you want to be devoted to whoever. Just figure out what you want to be devoted to. So in India, there is a lot of chanting to God and songs to the divine. Chanting is really a part of all religious traditions. Like I was using the Hail Mary is really sort of a form of chanting. It's just like this repetitive over and over and over and over thing. I don't know if you've ever heard the drone of a bunch of nuns saying the rosary, but there's this cadence to it, this chant, the rhythmicness to it. And what they found is that when you chant with heartfelt intentions, so that devotion to something higher than yourself, devotion to something greater, devotion to something outside of yourself. This doesn't mean you can't care and love for yourself, because this is what it's all about, right? But devoted to something higher, it actually turns the nucleus bacillus back on. So if you haven't tried chanting, I highly recommend it, which is why we started today with Om Namah Shivaya. Just to give you a little taste. And like I said, if that was not your jam, then that's okay. Like find a word, find a different chant. I have a whole bunch I can give to you. Keep it simple. Chanting turns on the nucleus bacillus, but it also tonifies your vagus nerve, which is responsible for basically everything important in your body. And in addition to that, I love chanting for interrupting those fear-based thoughts. So if you're in a thought loop and you just can't you can never argue with your brain, but Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. It's like, let's shift. Let's get out of this cemented, worn path in our brain with this thought loop and just Om Namah Shivaya, or whatever word you want to use. It's brilliant for that. Okay. So focus and love is really the key to helping turn on your nucleus bacillus. Now, one more thing, rest. Rest is important for digesting and consolidating and integrating everything that happened during your day. Another amazing restful practice is yoga nidra, which I think most of you know that I love very, very much. But there's been all this research on the impact of yoga nidra in your brain. Yoga nidra has been shown to increase brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which is related to your brain's plasticity. So the more BDNF you have, the easier it's going to be to change your brain. Therefore, uproot those patterns, uproot those programs that are inhibiting your life experience. those things where it's cemented between 0 and 14 that come from those terrible mean boys or mean girls or whoever they were, or mean parents or caregivers or anyone. So, okay, those are the 4 things for turning on the nucleus bacillus. There's exercise, focus, love, and rest. Okay, and you can make those a part of your daily practice. So when you implement your daily practice, and we're going to do the meditation shortly, it takes about, I want you to choose something that that you feel like is doable for about 40 days, because it takes about 40 days for change to occur. And our adult brains also need a lot of focus to change and lots of repetition to change and evolve those habits. You need intensity of focus and repetition. So you're going to pick this one thing that you're willing to do for the next 40 days. See how it goes for you. If it's not a good fit, that's okay. And you might look at the PDF that's associated with this class and be like, oh my God, how in the world am I going to do this? It's going to take me it's going to take me an hour and a half. It's going to take me hours. It's just not feasible. We're going to find something that's feasible. But I also want you to notice that it's easy to say, how can I do this? But then most of us are spending 8 hours on a screen and God knows how much time scrolling Instagram or Facebook or whatever. So you can do it. You can change it. I get it when you're a super busy mom and your kids are young and you've got a newborn or whatever. Totally a different situation. But there's always time. We create our time every single time. Okay. So when you think about this practice of Dinacharya that you are about to implement into your life, I want you to think about what you want your life to be about. You want more peace, more ease, more fun, more love, more freedom. And I want to kick ass in the world from this place. I want to grow my business from this place of easefulness, not stress and overwhelm, easefulness. So Dinacharya is also going to ask you to notice these ways of being, right? It's like first thing in the morning, are you checking your phone, checking your email, checking the New York Times? Or are you going to take a breath first? Because that's what matters, not getting swept up in the chaos of the world, because the world is chaotic and it will sweep you right along. Okay. So let's see if there's anything else I want to say here before we do. Okay. All right. That being said, one more thing I want to mention is that one of the goals of Dinacharya is to protect your consciousness, particularly at bedtime and waking, when you're very tender and very open to impression. So just think about that as you're going to bed at night. All right. So we're going to find your Dinacharya, and what the goal is 40 days of something that feels doable to you and having an effortlessness around these things. And you want it to become like brushing your teeth. You don't even have to think about it. You just do it no matter what. And if you don't do it, you're like missing, like, what did I miss today? Oh my God, no, I didn't do my yoga practice. So just so you know, to give you a sense of what my practice looks like, it is when I did this practice with my teacher, what came to my mind is yoga. I just wanted to do an actual yoga asana practice every morning. So I get up, go to the bathroom, scrape my tongue, come downstairs, make hot water, take my herbs, consciously drink at least a cup of hot water to get things moving. If you tend towards constipation, it's really important to drink the water and upwards of about a quart. If you're not moving your bowels in the morning, you want about a quart. That's a whole nother thing. But then I make my oats, and while my oats are cooking, I do my asana practice. So depending on my life, sometimes my asana practice is just a sun salutation going through each side. And then I've got to like go on with my day. Sometimes it's the whole time, the 20 minutes it takes to cook my oats. So there's flexibility around it. And then I also eat my lunch. I have a lunch hour carved out, and then I eat my lunch without any distraction. And my bedtime routine is the hardest part for me. Like, this is just, part of my transformation and evolution is like trying to get myself in bed. And at a decent hour, doing some reading, turning my phone off. A lot of times I will do my Abhyanga at bedtime and then take a bath. So Abhyanga doesn't have to be a morning thing. All right. So this is what you need. We're going to do a practice called Trataka, and you need a candle, a lighter, and a place to set your candle a couple of feet in front of you. So get all that stuff. We're going to take a break, but and then take a moment to look through the PDF that's with this class, and just kind of peruse and just like kind of read it over. I don't want you to be like, oh, I could do this or I could do that. Just like look it over, kind of plant the seeds in your brain. And then take a quick bathroom break, and we're going to break for just about 5 minutes. And we'll come back and we'll do this practice, and it'll be about 5 minutes long. And then that'll be it for today. So I'll see you in about 5. Okay. So your candle, just place it out in front of you a couple feet, ideally at eye level, but don't stress out about it. It does not need to be a big deal. You just want to be able to sit there for a few minutes comfortably staring at the candle. So Prataka is an amazing practice for clearing the restlessness of your mind and bringing clarity. So that's what we're going to do today. And remember, the sacred inquiry is, what is my Dinacharya practice? All right. So traditionally, this practice is taught where you stare at the flame for as long as possible without blinking. But if you blink, no big deal. I've been taught it's like you have soft eyes staring at the candle, and then you blink when you need to, but especially when your eyes get teary, then you start to blink. And teary means it's cleansing. It's cleansing you. And the teachings say these are healing, they're purifying tears, and not necessarily emotional. There's just going to be tears that kind of fall down your cheeks. Okay. So we're going to take a few minutes just to stare at this candle. So if you've got it ready and lit, do that. Now let your gaze be soft, keeping the eyes open for as long as you can. You are cultivating the ability to focus with this meditation. If you can add to it this focused meditation while you're gazing at the candle, a little compassion and love and gratitude for the fire that life brings us, do so. So notice what happens in your body as you gaze at the flame. It is inevitable that in mind, a distraction will come into your mind. You can't help that. Like some people just say, the nature of meditation is noticing when you've gone away, when you floated off. So just bring yourself back to the candle, not getting hung up on the practice itself, not wondering, can I blink? Can I not blink? Just letting your eyes be soft, feeling the tears, blinking as needed, doing your best to keep your eyes open, but really not getting hung up on it. You might start to feel like, I don't want to do this. Your mind doesn't like stillness. Typically, our minds do not like still. They don't know how to be there. It's hard for them. It's uncomfortable. It's unsafe. So just for now, keep coming back to the fire, the light, and the kindness, the compassion, the curiosity. And now, very gently close your eyes, and you'll see the image of the candle in your mind's eye. And let the object of focus be that inner light, that inner candle imagery, that flame. This image may change and evolve. If it goes away, you can open your eyes again and softly gaze at the candle. You can close your eyes as you desire. The goal of this is not perfection, it's not rigidity, it's not dogmatic necessarily. So now, if your eyes are open, let them be closed. And once again, focusing on that inner flame, like watching this on the movie screen of the mind. And from this place of being more focused, more connected to the light, to the flame, begin to ask this question of our highest self. What morning or daily routine would best serve me to really deeply commit to for the next 40 days? What morning or nightly, daily routine would best serve me to really deeply commit to for the next 40 days? And usually the answer will come pretty quick. So don't doubt it. Just let whatever drop in your mind, let it drop in there. Try not to let your thinking brain get too hooked into this. It's easy to be like, well, I should do this, I should do that. No, just like, what is it that you need the most right now? That's you can do for the next 40 days. At any time, if you lose your way, you can open your flame, you open your eyes and look at the flame. And then letting your eyes close and coming back to that sacred inquiry. What practice, day or night, not day and night, day or night, would best serve me for the next 40 days? Let the answer come as intuition and don't doubt it. And then see yourself doing that routine every day. See the joy and the goodness in your body for doing that. And then when you're ready, start to come back. If you're not quite ready, then that's okay. You can keep going. Maybe take a little note of what you heard about your Ayurvedic routine. Feel free to reach out and share with me in our next meeting, or just, text me, whatever, message me, let me know. So starting and maintaining your Dinacharya really helps to calm the mind and soothe and regulate the nervous system. So y'all know in my regulated, resilient, and rested, it's all about calming and soothing and regulating the nervous system. This calms and soothes Vata. Vata needs this container. So Vata can come up with these amazing ideas, amazing money-making ideas, but then be contained enough to run with them, to pass them along to Pitta and say, okay, do this. And using Dinacharya in addition to the other work we do is key, because if you are really struggling emotionally or psychologically, this is just a piece of the puzzle and a proclamation to the universe that this is how I want my life to be. The universe, the people around you, the divine, love, all that stuff. Okay. That is all for today. Until next time, namaste.